welcome to another exciting edition of Politalk with Ola on TSOLIDRADIOTV, the show where we talk about political and sociological issues that is happening in our country and around the world. Well, today I have three awesome men in the studio with me, three men of timber and caliber, like people will say. And these three men, today we're going to be discussing about the issue of Omoyele Sowore and his arrest. But then, before I decide to talk about the topic we're discussing, let me introduce my guest for today. I think my far left, I have Mr. Sowore Oladimeji, a political analyst and a political juggernaut. When I say political juggernaut, student of University of Ibadan, and their teachers and professors at University of Ibadan knows this person very well, like you know the back of your own palm. And at the same time, I have another person just right beside me in person of Bola Abimbola, another political student and a political analyst and social analyst, very popular on Twitter and at the same time on Facebook. And in the middle, I have a gentleman who is using a glass just like mine in person of Mr. Olokpade Idris, another political student from the University of Ibadan. At the same time, a political student leader. Let me start with the political juggernaut himself, Mr. Sowore Oladimeji. Welcome on the show today.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, just last week we heard about the news of the arrest of the AAC presidential candidate in person of Omoyele Sowore, who doubles as the founder of Sahara Reporters. What do you have to say about this?
Yeah, good afternoon once again. It is nice that the issue is gaining interest within the conversation of the Nigerian space. And then my position is very clear, that the federal government has done what they are supposed to do as a government and then representing the state. Like I released an article yesterday on the topic, Sowore's arrest, who is wrong and or right. For me, the federal government is right. Sowore himself is also right. And this is my point.
All right, I would like you to hold on there before you go further. Mr. Bola Abimbola, what do you think about this issue of arrest of Sowore in person?
I think that the federal government ought to have applied more intelligence to the arrest. And I felt like it was a plan. If you see a man that wanted to be arrested, you would know. I saw the footage of how the DSS captured him from his hotel room, and it was more or less like he was expecting himself to be arrested. So to me, I think the government are just playing along with him.
Okay, I think I would like to hold you on that one. I will come back to you because I would like to ask a question. If you're Sowore and you know the DSS, you're trying to say Sowore did not fight against his own arrest. But in that position, would you have fought against your own arrest when you know you can't even win? But I wouldn't want you to answer that now. I would want to ask Mr. Olokpade Idris, what is your viewpoint about the federal government arresting Sowore?
Well, thank you for having me on this show. It is just straightforward and clear to everyone. The government has chosen to be proactive. That is just it. Because no rational government will hear anything that has to do with revolution and fold its arms. So, for me, the government has been proactive in carrying out such. All right.
Let's speak from the point he said. No government would listen or hear about revolution and not react. Let's have a throwback to the Jonathan era when the fuel pump price was increased. I saw a placard and it said revolution now. There has been call for revolution over time. Several protests have come up in the name of revolution, but then nobody was arrested. But would you say the APC government being led by President Muhammadu Buhari is not friendly to the society when it comes to revolution? I would like you to say that, Mr. Bola.
Okay. From background, you would see that over time, the government has been very active when it comes to vocal attacks on them. They've been very active on that and arresting inviting people over for questioning and all. But looking at the antecedent before the arrest, I saw pictures of Sowore meeting with Kalu in the US.
The IPOB,
the IPOB leader. I saw him meeting with him, and then the next thing I saw again was him wearing a new bandana, a new beret. He was saying he wanted to lead a revolution. And how can you come from losing an election without even having a majority vote or anything and coming to say you want to lead a revolution? Who are the people you want to? I think his claim were just they lacked that force. The government should have, I think, managed it well to avoid what we have presently, where people are protesting and people are shouting, and everybody's talking about him. I think the government are just giving him a profile that it actually needs.
Okay, Mr. Sowore, your viewpoint on this, please.
Yeah, while I want to agree with Mr. Gbolahan's submission, I want to emphasize that that you lose an election, whether you have the majority vote or minority vote, should not be a yardstick, to measure who should lead the vanguard, for a revolution. But then, like he rightly said again, we must focus on the actor, the integrity of the actor, the rationale of the actor. If you say that using the revolution for cleansing the aberration in the Nigerian political system, did you just know that? If you didn't just know that, you contested an election in a revolutionable, system.
Let me cut you in on that a little bit. You said the actor in person of Sowore, and you were talking about you want to look at his integrity. What you're trying to say in essence is that the person of Sowore does not have the integrity to lead a revolution.
Absolutely, because my position is that you contested an election in a revolutionable system. I mean, the system is revolutionable, according to him. And then, if you have, checked the profiles of revolutionists, Ala Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, Nyerere, a whole lot of them, they stay clear away from an aberrated system.
That is the electoral system.
The electoral system, advanced, within that at that particular time. They stay clear away from it, because whatever comes out of that process, does not speak sanity. I am quoting, I'm speaking the mindset, the rational mindset of Sowore now. So to have contested election in a revolutionable, in an aberrated system, speaks lack of integrity. It only explains that you lost an election, and then you are trying to come now to get power from the back door. And that's exactly my position.
Do you think, or are you in agreement with the fact that leading a revolution by Sowore is a stylish way of getting power from the back door? Or apparently, let's just take Sowore out of the picture and see someone else leading that revolution? Would it have been the same thing?
Well, I think at this point it is important to operationalize the key terms, because people have been using interchangeably revolution and protest. Now, if you're talking about protest, that one has to do with a public demonstration. But immediately you're talking about revolution, you're talking about a forceful takeover of government. Now, the man in question, as he has rightly said, he said he contested for an election, and to a very large extent, woefully, he lost. And now you are staging a revolution, so to speak, against the government of the day that actually, won the election that you happens to be a counterpart. So, what's the logic in it? There's no logic, because it's apparent that you are trying to get hold of power forcefully. So, any government, as I said earlier, any rational government, anywhere across the globe, not only in Nigeria, will not take that. Will not want such to happen. Let me put it that way. Would not want such to happen. So, of course, they will have to go after you, although there are a lot of political conspiracy to that. You can have any kind of explanations to it. But there is conspiracy to anything that has to do with politics. So, now what I'm saying in essence is, the man in question, at the point in time, was known to be an activist. And now, at a point in time, he crossed the line of being an activist to a politician.
Yeah.
And so you cannot, the two are not the same thing.
It can't be the two.
You can, do you understand what I'm talking about?
I'm getting you.
So when you're talking about an activist, more or less, Yoruba will say, Ajafet Tomoniyo. You can put it in any way. I don't really understand what I'm talking about. So what I'm saying, sorry to cut you for that, what I'm saying is, at a point in time, he is known to be an activist. But immediately he crossed the line from the activist to a politician, there is little we can believe about him.
Alright, from the word activist, politician, protest, I want us to go back a little bit more to the days of the late Gani Fawayimi, who was a known activist and a lawyer at the same time. Would you water down the fact that because Gani Fawayimi contested to be the president of Nigeria, does that water down the fact that he was an activist? Because Sowore is trying to, if you will ask me, maybe he's trying to take a toll as to the toll of Gani Fawayimi, who was a professional, should I use the word professional lawyer, at the same time was an activist, but decided to contest in an election which he woefully lost at the same time. But then, would you water down the fact that that means he moved from being an activist to a politician just because he contested in an election, putting at the back of our mind that if you want to change a system, you might need or you need to be part of that system to enforce the change you need? Balaam, please.
Okay, usually what I say is, I tell people that you need to have an ideology before you want to lead people. And that is what we lack here. And the key word revolution means a lot. You asked about Gani Fawayimi and Sowore trying to take those footsteps. But I wouldn't compare Gani Fawayimi's quality to somebody like Sowore, because Gani Fawayimi was ruthless. He was ready to go all in for it. He was a die-hard person, and he came out for presidency because there was a need, there was a call for him. He did too much, and people expected that he would actually be able to lead. And I think going into politics was probably one of the greatest mistakes he made, because it is very hard, like he said, for you to be an activist. You want to push for people's need. You want to push for policies that would enable people to live properly, but you can't do that. It is said that you need to join politics for you to make policies, but then you cannot be a politician and again also want to lead the masses. You cannot be an activist and say you want to lead protests, you want to lead, and at the end of the day, how many politicians, the moment they enter the house, they enter the governance, you don't find them anywhere. If you go to jail for the people, you come back, they'll see that, oh yeah, they're Messiah. They've gone to jail for them.
On that, let's just take from the side of Mr. Salako Oladimeji. What's your take on this?
Yeah, for me, they have spoken well, but then there should be no problem being an activist and then crossing the boundary. The purpose of activism, there's a thin line between the purpose or focus of activism and then politician. If you are an activist, you are more or less a means, to an end. Politics is the end in itself. You understand? So, as an activist, you are pushing for good governance. And then as a politician, you are expected to execute good governance. So the most rational person expected in political setting ought to be the activist. You understand? And then, that was why most of the celebrated African leaders that we have today, they are freedom fighters. They are activists. Talk about Mandela. Talk about Kwame Nkrumah. Talk about Inyerere. Talk about Kenneth Kaunda. Even in Nigeria, sometimes Nnamdi Azikiwe, Awolowo, freedom fighters. But then, just like Mr. Bola, mentioned, you must be ideological. Ideology promotes your activism into a sane politics. It refines you. If as an activist, and you lack ideology, some basic ideology, you go into politics and then you become the same politicians that we're talking about. But as an activist, if you have, just like you mentioned, a profound ideology, you know, it's going to separate you from, you know, a transactional politician to a transformational politician that you are expected to be.
All right, we have to go on this short break. Are you a transactional politician or you are a transformational politician? Let's just go on this break, and when we are back, we'll take more issues as regards legal measures that led to the seizure or apparently the arrest of Omoyele Sowore of Sahara Reporters. Welcome back from that break. Before we went on that break, I had a line that sticks to my memory right now. Are you a transactional politician or a transformational politician? It is left for you to decide. All right, let's just go back to our issue of discourse as we were discussing before we went on that break. We were discussing about Omoyele Sowore's arrest. Now, I'm going to be asking the gentleman I have in the house this afternoon. Do you think what Sowore did or is a move for the protest of revolution can or should be regarded as a treasonable offense? Let me start from you.
Of course, for me, I'm not a lawyer, but then we can speak from the layman legal perspective. But the federal government has ruled it, you know, to be, you know, a treasonable offense. Just like Mr. Idris, you know, mentioned. The state is like a god, an omnipotent god of a country. Just like in the spiritual realm, the God, Almighty God, does not like when he is being questioned, you know, by those that he creates. The state also do not like to be questioned, interrogated by those that he creates, his subjects. The people, the territory, sovereignty, government are all subjects of the state. So anyone who questions the permanence, the existence, the sovereignty, the omnipotence of the state is seen as a beast and will be treated as such. So in that, you know, line, revolution, just like he operationalized, taking over of power or changing even the habit of a state is a treasonable felony. And I am scared if Omoyele Sowore, because I heard while I was coming that he's going to be in court tomorrow. Yes. So I am scared if this will not be the end, not of his political journey alone, but the end of Omoyele Sowore, his activism, because he has gone too far.
Sorry, I would like to take you up on that. Do you think Sowore has gone too far?
Well, there are diverse explanations to that, but for me, he has gone too far, especially in his choice of words. Now, he ought not to have used the word revolution. As I said earlier, no rational government will take that. And so, if in any case they have decided to go on a public demonstration, I'm very sure the Nigerian government will not go against that, but especially when they seek...
Let me pick you up on that, please. This is not the first time the word revolution is being used for a government.
As apparent as this?
Yes, but...
I doubt it.
It happened during the Jonathan era, when we all seek for revolution, and that was where we coined the word change.
I do not know. Okay.
That was what we coined the word change. Omoyele Sowore himself was part of those people who coined the word change as a result of the revolution they want to take over power from the People's Democratic Party who ruled for 16 years.
Let me quickly comment. There's a misconception.
Okay.
You see, what happened during the fuel subsidy saga that you mentioned is anomic, and that's a logical and sane revolution if it had happened. And I'm sure Jonathan was at least at that point a bit rational to have used violence against the people to stop it. Because if the protest had gone a day further, it would have been the beginning to the end of Nigeria. Because the veracity and intensity, the extent, was going so deep.
It was going far.
It wasn't one person who said we are leading a revolution. The thing just happened.
Into the collective.
You know, it just happened. And that's what we are talking about, revolution. You cannot plan it. It is always spontaneous.
Okay, I think I should come in here. When you said that you went too far, I think, like I said earlier, it's my own perception is that it's a game plan from Sowore, and Sowore is not an illiterate. He's a sound journalist, and he's not just a local journalist. He's somebody that has traveled far and wide. Yeah. He understands politics. He has seen issues. He has reported issues. And he understands Nigeria. He has information about Nigeria. And I don't think he went too far. Because, like I said earlier, I think it's all about profiling himself. A game plan.
But then it's just you're of the opinion that his game plan has not upturned against him.
Yeah, definitely. When you play a game, it's either you win or you lose. Yeah. And sometimes you might just...
So what would you say is happening to him right now? Is he still winning or is he losing the game?
Then the end would justify the means. Because I don't think that eventually, if he goes to jail, or if he's extradited, or if he's sent on asylum or whatever, one day or the other, people will sing for his praise and welcome him back home. This is Nigeria. Anything can happen.
So far, so good.
This is where I question the intention of the convener of the revolution. Yes, is Omoyele Sowore. That what is actually the scope of the revolution? Because they are actually laying emphasis on the federal government. Are we saying the state government? Because it's a federation. It's a federation. Mm-hmm. Are we saying the state governments are not actually contributing to Nigerian predicaments? So their emphasis to a very large extent are on the central government. So that's why I said their scope is not well spelt. Now, take for instance in Oyo State yesterday, a number of people did not come out for any protest. In fact, if you should sample the opinion of a market woman, they did not know the person called Sowore. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it is only in most cases on the social media where you have people active so that they get to know what's going on.
They're active
online. And they just they blab on social media and all sorts. So the issue is what is actually because theories that explain revolution will tell you that it is only at the point of calling for a change in government that the convener or core actors seems to be proactive, radical. Once they, attain the position of authority, they become conservatives. They maintain the status quo. So what's actually the intention of the convener?
Now, when we're talking about intention, that reminds me when the director of DSS spoke sometimes last week. He said they understand the fact that Omoyele Sowore has some political backing and international backing. Would you think that this has a political undertone to Sowore's political ambition, or apparently some other political candidates who are trying to get power from the APC? Do you think there's a political undertone to this?
Yeah, you see, I want to allude to Mr. Gbola's impression that we might be having a wrong impression even of Sowore's intention. He may immorally even have the intention of going to jail, for prestige making. It's allowed in politics. And again, I am also aware of the international recognition he's going to get, from this, the whole saga. Because the way the international organization, so to put, the way they view things like this is at the favor, at the advantage of Omoyele Sowore. They will report, I saw Al Jazeera yesterday. He has featured on Al Jazeera. He's going more international. And then when they want to report, they report him as a freedom fighter. And then, just yesterday, the federal government also gave, a subtle caution to Amnesty International, because they are giving Omoyele Sowore some kind of international dignity, against, the interest of Nigeria. Perhaps that might even be the intention, the interest of Sowore. Perhaps, just like he said, in his introductory words, that Sowore might even be expecting, the arrest. As a matter of fact, the arrest may even be, the reason why, he has come out, to talk about, revolution. But I want to insist, sometimes you play game, you win, and sometimes you lose. On this, the bulk of the game is in the hands of the federal government. I'm only scared if this will not be a very bad, lose for Omoyele Sowore.
Okay, now you were saying, in essence, the federal government should not play into the hands of Sowore.
They should not play into his hands.
Serve us less credibility. Okay, on the final note, my friends in the house, I would like to ask you, if you were the federal government, what would you have done to Sowore?
For me, if I cannot be the federal government, but I can be the president, and I can influence the opinion of federal government. On a more serious note, power, the difference between the state and a non-governmental organizations like this is violence, is force. If you take force away from Nigeria, Sowore becomes a country himself. So I won't take that lightly at all. I don't know if after my tenure, but while I'm still in office, it should be somewhere.
All right, Mr. Bola, what would you have done if you were to be the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
Well, I think that at every point, in every situation, a state must prove its character. And it must prove its character to the international environment, because oftentimes issues like this will come up. People like Sowore, there are more thousands of Sowores out there that would always come out, and then they have to set an example. And I think they should handle it with a lot of intelligence, just to avoid more issues arising. And then there should be a lasting solution to things like this, because I think the government should really, I think Nigeria is a very intelligent country, so our president should apply a lot of intelligence in handling issues, so that to avoid creating more violence. Because what I saw on TV yesterday was, I was not really happy with it, and I think Nigeria is far better than that. We can do better.
All right, Mr. Lopade Idris, if you were to be the federal government, what would you have done?
Well, as he has rightly said, I cannot be the federal government. I'm just a part in the government now. So if I'm the president, for instance, of course, I'll have him arrested. As I've said earlier, every man loves power. And now we are talking about governmental power. Once you take that away, as you have rightly said, from the government, it's as if the government is dumbfounded. So if in any way I'm the president, I will have him arrested. So it will serve as a form of deterrence for those that perhaps would like to, engage in such. So that is it.
All right, thank you. That's all we have on the show today. You can do well to follow us on all of our social media, and TSOLIDRADIOTV on Instagram, TSOLIDRADIOTV on Twitter, TSOLIDRADIOTV on YouTube, where you can watch these and rewatch it all over again. I want to thank the gentlemen in the house for honoring my call to discuss about Sowore. You can also leave a comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think about the arrest of Sowore. My gentlemen in the house have done justice and gave their own viewpoint of what they think. My name remains Olatunji Awe. Until my next episode of Politics with Olatunji Awe, stay good and remain blessed.